A very good evening to everyone present over here. We apologize for the delay. So welcome to the final round of Rage of Guardian organized by Oasis as part of Invenio.
I'm Gunika and this is Briti and we'll be your hosts for today. The Rage of Guardians was started in July with the aim to reflect on ecology, the different aspects of ecology, and how ecology is an essential scientific discipline. We wanted our participants to take an interdisciplinary approach towards ecology and know what ecology is and the different aspects to it.
As guardian of our environment, it's crucial that we understand the phenomena which are affecting our environment and to study the strategies to mitigate the impacts. Today, our focus is on three critical and interconnected topics that have profound impacts in our environment. They are deep sea mining, ocean acidification, and shifting monsoon pattern in South Asia.
And to discuss these three crucial topics, we have our finalists for Rage of Guardians, the team XYZ, Whatman, and the Guardians of the Globe. So, without further ado, and our jury for today, Parth sir, Abhijit sir, and Arunima ma'am, thank you for joining us. So, without further ado, we'll be starting with the rules.
So the rules for the event are, each team will be given a presentation time of 12 to 15 minutes, followed by a question and answer session by the jury. And if time permits, we'll have a discussion session with the audience. So,
without further ado, we'll be welcoming our first team, the team XYZ. The members are Lincoln, Priyanshu, and Rudra. And the question that they were given was,
how are shifting monsoon pattern in South Asia influencing freshwater availability and ecosystem services in the region, and what adaptive strategy should be implemented to manage both ecological and human needs? So we like to call upon Team XYZ to give their presentation.
So, good evening to everyone. I am really glad that Oasis give me this opportunity to take part in this event. So, while discussing about the topics among the 10 topics they have provided, me and my friends are thinking that what should we choose. Then one of my friend is telling, bro, we are from village background. Let's do something that is related to agriculture, so that at least we should know the ground relative what's going on, right? So that's why we have chosen this topic. The topic has been already told by the host. Again, I am telling it's too long. This topic is good. Let me tell the topic again. How are the shifting monsoon pattern in South Asia influencing freshwater availability and ecosystem services on the region, and what adaptive strategies should be implemented to manage both ecological and human needs? So it seems quite interesting, and really it's interesting. When me and my team went into the depth, we found some really good points that everyone should know, right? So let's delve into that. Oh, it was a rainy day, not like that. So while searching on different abstract paper and all, we found a good quote that monsoon is the real finance minister of India, once said by Pranab Mukherjee. So you will get to know later on that why he has told like that, right? So shifting monsoon pattern, basically the major problem is being erratic rainfall. Erratic means irregular rainfall patterns. That is not even some channelized rainfall pattern that we used to be seen while we were children or like something. So this rainfall pattern is the major problems that lead to droughts in some region or floods in some region. Like recently we have seen that in Gujarat there are like all of a sudden floods everywhere. One of my friends is studying there, it's Nirmala University. He told our campus is shut down for 3-4 days. So it's really very problematic situation and we should think about it, right? So let's see what are the monsoon pattern. Monsoon, so let's know the term what is monsoon. Monsoon basically come from a Arabic word means monsoon, change into wind pattern. one direction pattern. So that's monsoon. So if you stick into the Indian subcontinent, the monsoon pattern is like it's start from around late of April and May. So it's like it began west coast, springtime of reversal winds pushing the moisture laden air from the Arabian Sea towards the land. In the June region, it started carrying more rain across the subcontinent. July, August, we used to get the perfect picture of rainy season, what we used to say. September, monsoon retreats for another rain. October and December, what we see that in southern India, in south states, there used to be rain. That called, it triggers the northeast monsoon actually triggers the flow for which we used to get the rain in the southern region. Next. Okay then. Changing monsoon pattern, what are the real problem that due to changing monsoon, what are the problem we are facing actually? So disruptive rainfall patterns, I just gave the example of Gujarat. It's really, we should think about that. Increased risks of droughts, that's to enhancing floods in some region and drought in some region, that system. Impairment of ecosystem service, we will come to that later. Impact of livelihood, threat to food security. We will give the details. Like, okay, let's see. This is a pattern from 1960 to 2020. We forgot to put the abstract link, really sorry for that. But it shows that gradually the monsoon intensity increasing, no doubt. We are getting good amount of rain, but still the pattern has been disrupted. What should be the rainfall pattern? When should when agriculture starts, what amount of precipitation they need, when they did not require the precipitation. Because if we will focus on the Indian subcontinent, still now our manufacturing sector has not been developed fully. So our majority of population are still depending on agriculture, right? Odisha is the best example. We don't need to go outside. So the thing is, rainfall pattern is good. Even if you take the case study of Berhampur, like from the past 2 months, we barely getting any good amount of rain. So that's we should think that why it's happening, right? So climate in rainfall is increasing, but still the disruptive pattern is the real problem. So shifting pattern, who are the drivers of the shifting pattern? What are the major impact for which the pattern is being changed, right? So climate change basically the global warming and due to temperature increase, this pattern has been changed a bit. Deforestation, everyone knows that according to our National Forest Act, there should be 32 or 31, sorry, I am not remembering completely. That much percentage of forest cover we should have. And for rural India and urban area, that should be different, right? But still, in some state or some region, it's not up to mark. So that's a major reason that deforestation is leading to a major role. Urbanization in the sense, look like if you will see our campus also, earlier it used to be occupied with kaju plantation, full of vegetation. But now, somehow I am not telling that institute is not important. Institute obviously important for national eminence. But still, they have cleared a whole total 200 acre of kaju plantation. So I was talking with one of the people from Markanti. He was telling like, we have never seen such humidity and rise in temperature pattern in the last 2-3 years. Sorry. So he was like, why this change is happening? Then he is indirectly telling us that because of you it's happening. Then how should we, at least we should have a proper data that we should tell that yes, deforestation is done, but we are really doing something to bring afforestation, like we are doing regular plantation, right? So that's a good initiative by our campus management. El Nino and La Nina, if it is basically the terms that have due to the wind patterns, if it is changing because of these two major events, El Nino and La Nina, because of this oceanic phenomena influence monsoon intensity and timing. And if the timing is changing, that's why the major problem is arising. And greenhouse emission is basically increased because of it's really directly proportional to deforestation and emission of gases from vehicles or industrialization. That thing is correlated. And ocean currents. Change in ocean current also changing the regional climate of a particular region. Like you will see oceanic belt is there, then it might disturb the region of the Gopal. If you are looking at the Bay of Bengal, then it might disturb the climate region of this particular location. Impact on freshwater reserve means how changing pattern is impacting on the freshwater reserve, because all that at last we need a good glass of water before sleeping, right? So freshwater reserve is really important for us. So droughts and floods, erratic monsoon patterns can cause both droughts and floods in various regions. So for example, in 2009, India experienced its driest monsoon in over 80 years, which affected millions of farmers. Means that year the agricultural growth or means the production is decreased devastatingly. Flooding during monsoon season. Flooding can contaminate water supplies, for which majority of effect can be hampered. Dry spells. Dry spells can reduce water availability, which can stress water used for agriculture or domestic needs. Means whatever we are demanding, if we are not getting that much, then it is problematic, right? So, just a second. That's a pictorial representation, means how groundwater level is really less in case of Sri Lanka and Bhutan. So that should be really problematic things. Then next, increase rainfall intensity. Means in some areas we are getting more than enough. Like if we have heard of Cherrapunji, it's the means maximum rainfall area is this, but not like that. In some of the cases, like last year, whatever I remember, my district Devghat receives more than enough water, money annual precipitation, right? It's something around, I'm not sure about the exact amount, but still, whatever I've read, it's get more than enough annual precipitation. That thing is problematic while you are harvesting the crop. Means I belong to a farmer family, so when my father we are planting to harvest the rice plantation, that time there is water full on our farm, right? Means the our area. So that's a problematic. So we have to wait for some few more days. If we are waiting for few more days, then our crop, if you in the ground reality, it's called like mouse will eat your crops and all, or problem will arise. So we have to cut the plant on time. So that's the problem. River flow alteration lead to water shortage and excessive flooding. Example, IISER Berhampur. What happened like that in the city? If you are seeing the flood area is widening, and for that it has been told that in some newspaper that for that sea level is also increasing. If sea level increases, some of the coastal belt city will also get devastated under the sea. Some situation will also arise. So next, the main problem now is agriculture reliance on monsoon. Our whole agriculture system is basically based on monsoon. Still now government, if I say the Odisha scenario, in Odisha government is really trying hard to give water supply to each and agricultural field. And they are trying, like mega project has been started. That's really good initiative, but it's not for small scale laborers. That can't be helpful. Means it's like if you are providing to every small stoppage, then it will not have good use. So irritating monsoon pattern, droughts and floods, crop losses. Crop losses, what I have told you now. If you will not cut your crops in time, then it's not going to give you a good return. So soil erosion. Soil erosion, main thing is when the layer is like light or something, when due to excessive rainfall, the topmost layer used to get washed away. So for which you are like losing the fertility of the soil at some time. Food price inflation. This is the one of the major thing. If you will look in some areas, what happened at a point of time, for example, tomato price is 5 rupees per kilo. At a point of time, it will goes up to 80 rupees per kilo. So that's the thing. We can't say that everything is upon demand and supply or some transport problem. We have to, at a point of time, we have to think that like the production is not coming in time. What's the time of its production? If it's delaying, then the price will automatically rise and inflation will be seen. So impact on biodiversity and ecosystem services. Beside agriculture, this one is also a major effect because it is the biosystem where we are also living. So it will indirectly or directly impact us also, our livelihood. So altered water regions can lead to the loss of freshwater biodiversity, such as fish, amphibian, impact the food chain ecosystem stability. If the pattern is changing, then obviously marine ecosystem will affect from it. With intense monsoon rains, there is a high risk of soil erosion and land degradation. That thing I told you earlier, means the top layer may be washed away due to excessive erosion, soil erosion. So for that, everyone knows that we have to do plantation or cover the soil, something like that. So that will destroy adaptive strategies. Impact of changing precipitation on forest health, specific composition, forest regeneration. You might have heard that in some species of plants and animals requires a specific breeding time. Means if the particular season is there, then only they will breed or they will only propagate something. Their lifestyle will also affect. So that thing. Economic consequences for sector like agriculture, tourism and insurance due to changes in rainfall pattern. So the same thing, the market inflation rate that I have discussed. The El Nino effect, because of this also, it's a major effect. It's not been seen. El Nino basically weaken the Indian monsoon by altering the atmospheric circulation that reduce rainfall and causing drought in India and nearby regions. So basically it's a major effect. So we should try that El Nino should not come to Indian subcontinent. So these are some statistical data that we got from some research paper like that rainfall pattern. According to Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorological Meteorology has reported an increase in frequency of heavy rainfall. Events are 74% between the 1950 and 201. Sorry, I'm really sorry. Groundwater depletion, according to the World Bank, also groundwater levels in some regions of India have dropped by more than 4 meters in the last 2 decades. So real life example is Bangalore. If you will go to one of my relatives is staying there, they are like, we are getting tankers of water to every apartment every day. What's the scenario in village? We used to bathe in ponds, but here the things is very different. We have to limit ourselves to specific amount of water per day consumption should be limited like that. So that's the real life scenario that we are seeing every day in the newspaper, but at least we should think that what can we do. It means it's not like that it's need a group of people or something united so that some change will happen. If you really want to change, then small steps can even accumulate a large step, and that can, if you, in Ramayana also the same thing happen, right? That small mouse helped Lord Ram, that everyone knows. So something like that. Okay, let's see. These are all the problems that we have faced in our real life or due to this changing, shifting of monsoon pattern. Let's see some adaptive strategies so that to maintain both ecological and human needs, right? At last, we have to live in our country, and whatever the climate change is going on, that's because of you. At point of time, we have to mind that everything, whatever is happening, because of us only. So we have to take some steps to help them. So based on the integrated water resource management, this system is basically tested in Rajasthan, one of the driest place of India. So they have done it like integrated water resource management, try to use this, they done some rainwater harvesting, then some modern traditional techniques to conserve, store water, then watershed management, and at last they have convinced the community to help everyone so that they could overcome this problem. Then rainwater harvesting, the same study. In Tamil Nadu, it's tested in Tamil Nadu, and Tamil Nadu have successfully done this. Over the past decades, water shortages increased after 12% due to widespread implementation of rainwater harvesting system. So Tamil Nadu has done what, like they are planting that tubes like in every home so that water should be conserved so that it can be used later on. Climate resilient agriculture. So that's a good point, means how to tackle with this. So today I was attending Swati Naik, right? Talk. Yeah. Swati Naik. He was dealing with basically Rice Research Institute. She also worked there. So she was telling like I worked in Moyurbhanj district of Odisha. So they have developed some drought resilience crop variety of rice. So that can be sufficient, means that can resist some adverse climatic conditions. So these things should be known to the rural people and all, so that they should adopt that technique to increase the production and to reduce the loss, right? Ecosystem restoration. So that's the same thing that I'm really appreciating the IISER Berhampur management, that they are again planting lots of plants in our campus so that it will be one of the great campuses of whole India, as said by our director. Let's see what happens, but it's really a good step. We have to think of afforestation, whatever possible measure we can do. It's not like if we are cutting 2 trees and planting one in the next day and thinking, yes, I am doing afforestation, that we have to move out of this mindset, right? It's not like plant will grow in one day. We have to take care of it and all. So it's really challenging, but we have to take this as an opportunity to grow and learn in our life. Sorry, take one second. So that is a good recent data that we have collected. That's from Bangladesh. That specifically they what do to reduce the flood impacts in coastal areas. They've done like 20% reduction in flood impacts. The restoration of wetlands, what they are doing in wetlands that absorb excess rainwater, reduce the speed and flow of flood water so that devastation should be reduced. So they have done a remarkable job in this. If you want, you can go through this source link. If you want any details, right? Because we have time constraint here, so I will imply we will go through this. Forecasting and early warning system. So in the developing technology area, we should think of that how we can prevent such things from means if we have time, so that we should get precaution measures, right? If you have enough time, you can shift some people from flood prone areas to high level areas. So if you have gone through the recent, means not recent, it's our Odisha is quite famous for this disaster management relief system. Our Odisha's disaster relief system is best in the whole world. So they are really doing remarkable job in this way. And due to all this is because of possible, not like they are manually doing or some astrologer is coming, yes, flood will come, we will take you to the good areas. So nothing like everything because of technology. So that thing is forecasting, that is possible because of forecasting and good amount of technology. India is investing in that field. So meteorological department is really working. So that's a good initiative. So at last we are on the verge of conclusion. So it's nothing like what's written, tell, go. It's like a personal milestone, right? If you are thinking, at least I can help in the society in a, whether it's small or big, it doesn't matter. At the last, it is beneficial for the society and environment, then it should matter. So we should think of it and try to adopt the positive measures. What can we do? So that our one thought I am remembering, it's like the world, something is like the world is not yours. It has been brought from your previous generation and to be forwarded to your future generation. Something like it's in NCERT class 9 geography book, something. Not remembering actually the thought. So that's all for today. Thank you. Thank you, team Oasis.
So I have few questions for you. First of all, it's a nice presentation. Very happy to see such kind of works and the effort you have put forward. So I think you have talked about groundwater harvesting or something, rainwater harvesting, sorry. So can you tell me how this kind of climate changes are affecting groundwaters? Or if you have any idea, means have you ever seen something, because you have talked that you are from Devgarh and you are from rural background and you know the groundwater problem. So
So now we can it's like basically the irregular rainfall pattern also. Means when and due to increase in the population and urbanization, at some point of time we are lacking behind the area in which the ground should water should penetrate and it should increase the fresh water level, right? So increasing population is also a problem, and the irregular pattern that we are seeing means it's like while returning back from my home to the campus in August, the Brahmani river actually flows through our area. So it's like totally half of the half of water is not there, like means it's totally reduced. So the thing is because of this climate phenomenon. So and that thing is affecting the groundwater level directly. So and when measured means it gets a good amount of rain, what they used to do is like in the topmost layer Hirakud rain, they used to only don't store water and release them to bring more electricity and it did not give them a standing water to penetrate in the soil and give fresh water line for them. So that's my point of view.
okay, good. So how can we overcome this? Means any plan, any idea in ground level, not a big scale. In, let's think you are at your home and there is some scarcity of water, and how can you overcome this thing? Or how can you, in your background, in your home, how can you?
You can apply some adopt some sustainable measures, right? Like if you are, we can in childhood also we are doing this reuse of water. If you are washing your clothes, the same water can be used in the gardening purpose and all. No, that's a basic measure. I means in a more general scale, what we can do is like I'm not getting anything.
Okay, it's nice. Okay, my second question is, you have a statement that El Nino should not come to Indian monsoon. You gave a statement that El Nino should not come to India like that. So how can you stop that El Nino? I know you don't have much idea about the El Nino or La Nina, I know, but
I should invite my friend to join this discussion, please.
Mainly it depends on the wind pattern distribution. If the wind pattern got affected by the climate change and the overall monsoon is means changes substantially, so it affects the climate.
okay, you have to go through some books also. So I will not go into deep, but it's means if you see the patterns, El Nino and La Nina is repetitive pattern. It's happening. You it doesn't you your statement is wrong, and his statement is quite good that it depends on wind pattern, but wind pattern is also regulated by your ocean circulations. Okay, because you know we have equator, we get more heat in the equator, and we have poles. Pole is colder, so water will circulate. So the water, the air that is in contact with the water near pole will be colder. In the equator, it will be hotter. So there is a regular circulation pattern is going on. So stopping, we should educate ourselves. Do not time much. Okay. And rainwater harvesting. So can we use all the rains for rainwater harvesting? Means say I can give you an example in Berhampur here. First rain come on May or June. So can we start the harvesting the rain from the May? Or there is a particular period in which we used to harvest the rain or we collect the rains?
It should depend on the amount of precipitation. At what point of time you are getting more precipitation. You should consider that one also.
You know, we in our home they used to suggest us don't go outside in the first rain. Why? Acidic rain. That's what I want to know. Okay. Person.
I don't need it. Nice presentation. And I want to see one slide, the drivers one. The drivers. You haven't explained that much. You have just explained the impacts. You must have researched everything you have presented here. You must have researched everything.
Repeat.
I have only one question. Can you explain me El Nino and La Nina, how it works, how it affects? Just.
My friend can, I
No?
think he can explain more.
But because you have just put it there, no? That's why I'm asking. From where it starts, from where it ends.
Nino language mostly observed in Southern American countries, and they experience it very much. There is a change in wind pattern resulting in the uneven distribution of the rainfall. So that from our topic, it will not affect us this much.
La Nina. It's okay. It's okay.
So
It's
you are
okay.
making me the clarity, so it's better.
It's okay. But you should know that if you are putting some terms or something in your presentation, you should know about that. Something overview or not detailed, but you should know that. That's all. Nice presentation, nice. But you should also put some maps, or if you are showing the monsoon, shifting monsoon, you should put some maps or figures or something. But because it's too written there.
If you are dealing with such topic, then it's minimum 10 days, 15 days we need
Yeah.
to get a overview or in depth.
Ah.
So
How many days you get?
I request the assistant.
1 day,
It's usually like 2 days. Like 2 days.
2 days.
I don't want to give assist, but thing is whole day we are.
Okay.
That's it. But
Okay,
then
so
we-
in 2 days you have prepared very
Then
well, like
this one,
it's
this-
very nicely looking. But I would suggest you one thing, when you are presenting something, don't read the presentation. Don't read it, we can see it, right? We want something new from yourselves, like something innovative, which is not written there. And when you make presentations, give this kind of charts. It describes everything. And the next depends on what you are speaking about. Now I have some questions for you. You have talked about greenhouse gases and industrialization, right? It is a very basic concept. So, except for industrialization, let's say in a village concept, that there is not much industrialization, what can be controlled to control this greenhouse gas emission in villages, not in an industrialized area?
What can you control the greenhouse?
Emissions, to reduce it.
In rural areas,
In rural areas where there is not much.
industries or something.
Plantation rights.
Okay.
Only
Okay.
Actually, in rural areas, still they are using higher means
to cook food.
They used to hire bricks and all. So instead of that, they can use LPG. So that it can reduce the
So, do you really think LPG is feasible in rural areas up to a certain amount of time because of the subsidies and all?
Our government is really trying to provide the gas pipeline to each and every house.
Okay.
But at some point of time, money matters will come in. But
Okay,
then
and-
that's why they are changing again.
Right, sir. And plantation drives. You told that IISER is restoring an ecosystem. Do you know the difference between ecosystem restoration and ecosystem alteration?
Restoration.
And alteration.
It's an alteration in geography. In alteration, you are changing the environment totally. And restoration, you are keeping with the same thing.
Okay. So, do you think that IISER can restore an ecosystem because it is altered?
Totally.
Do you think ever this restoration is possible?
No, that's
So-
not.
And for plantation drives, what do you think that here there was some kind of vegetation. Now we are planting these plants. I don't really know the names, but we are planting some. Just let's say, for example, mangoes and jamun and etc. Do you really think that is a plantation?
So we have to test like this, what's the soil pattern, what kind of plants should grow here. We have to do a basic test, right? What's beneficial for this environment, what kind of vegetation is staying here so that they could get benefit from our environment. So everything we have to consider at a certain point. And if the forest department is providing plants, means at some point of time they must have thought that this plant species is beneficial for this area, right?
Not always, because you gave an example of Rajasthan. You know the Rajasthan ecosystem. The forest department has planted one plant species that is called Prosopis juliflora. That has altered the ecosystem completely because it's now more of a green area, but it was a desert. Like deserts are also ecosystem, right? So I think some basic research is needed before we start planting. It's deforesting or afforesting, anything.
Also, common name of that.
Common name of the
What
plant.
is the common
Khejri, I guess. Khejri in. And just one last question. What is a watershed? What is a watershed?
Watershed.
I don't think you can say about that.
I think when you put some points in your presentation, you need to be really clear about that. Because it's better to put less data, but you should be confident about that. But when you put many data, you should really know about that, and please source this data, because I don't think anyone is, you your researches, so you should always source data when you are taking research. Yeah, URL or anything like that. Yeah, yes, it's said it's case studies and stuff. Yes. Okay.
Nice.
Thank you. It was a nice presentation.
Nice presentation. Nice.
Thank you, Team XYZ, for your presentation. So now, next we want to call Team Watman. And the members of the Team Watman are Tane, Rohit, and Divan.
And the question that they were given was, considering the significant ecological impact of deep sea mining, particularly on hydrothermal vent ecosystems, what regulations should be established to balance the demand for rare minerals with the protection of deep sea biodiversity? So, Team Watman.
Good evening, members of the jury, members of Oasis. Today we're here to talk to you about deep sea mining. So we'll be covering what deep sea mining is, what could be the potential environmental impacts both biogeochemically as well as economically on the population. And we'll also be talking about if deep sea mining is actually a necessary evil as many people claim it to be. So first of all, what is deep sea mining? So as the name suggests, deep sea mining is an economic extraction of minerals from the ocean floor through various technologies such as deep sea hydrothermal drills and other sophisticated mining equipment. So it involves first locating a sustainable mineral source using remote sensing vehicles or deep sea exploration tools. And once an economic mineral source is identified, it is extracted back to the surface through either hydraulic or mechanical techniques and is actually analyzed for its chemical composition. If the chemical composition is found to be economically viable, sophisticated engineering is applied to bring this mineral back to the surface, after which it is purified and used. So deep sea mining seems to be a very economical initiative. After all, the amount of metal available on our crust is actually very low, and metals themselves take a relatively long amount of time to degrade. And deep sea mining seems to be a source of these possible metals for our commercial use. But the problem is that these deep sea sites, especially hydrothermal vents or these polymetallic sites or these polymetallic sulfides, which are actually the source of these minerals, are also the habitats of many marine organisms, all of which would be severely affected by this deep sea mining, both physically as well as chemically. So over to Tane to talk about the harmful effects of deep sea mining.
So good evening. I'm going to talk about the harmful effects of deep sea mining. So the first and foremost reason will be the direct harm to the marine life. So while mining, obviously the immobile organisms like coral reefs and sea anemone and other organisms will eventually be killed by those mining, and which can cause in destruction of the habitat loss of those organisms. And due to the mining, the warm wastewater which is produced from the mining can easily overheat or poison those organisms and can easily kill those. And the second effect will be the long-term species disruption. So noise and light pollution is evident during mining, which can causes the surrounding organisms lose their feeding habits and reproduction life, and they can move from one place to other due to those disruption. And it can also lead to the irreversible ecosystem damage, and this is also one of the main factor for the habitat loss. Everything includes habitat loss due to the mining. And the third effect will be the impact on fisheries. It is prominent mining releases waste particles, it can waste discharge. So example, while mining, there are some sediments which comes above the ocean layer and can form a cloudy surface on the ocean layer. So due to that, the species of some fish which is present there can travel to other habitat, and it can lead to the effect to the fishermen who usually have come from that place to fishing, but now because of the mining they have changed their places somewhere else, and due to this it can affect the coastal region people so badly. especially the fishermen's. And yeah, like it can, sorry. Yeah, that's it. Like now my friend Rohit will continue this.
So, as Tani said, a lot of habitat loss can occur thanks to deep sea mining. But a particularly interesting case is that of a coastal habitat loss, because the coasts that is right next to the oceans are also important habitats as their ecotones, that is transitional zones between a water and a terrestrial habitat. So, deep sea mining, not just the process itself, but also the extraction as well as purification technology are typically located along the coasts. And when present, these can actually encroach into the coastal habitats and cause a loss of biodiversity even there. So, and it also so happens that most of the mineral extraction sites, that is the oceans, happen to border like politically developing countries. So, the mining facilities are mostly through developed nations. So, developed nations basically have to go to these developing nations to extract the minerals, and concomitantly lead to a loss of habitat as well as economic opportunities in those countries. So not only is it like biogeochemically affecting those developing nations, but it's also causing an economic imbalance between the developed and the developing world. That is, the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. And yeah, so the ocean is also an important carbon sink biogeochemically. So through the carbon cycle, carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere, which is normally a greenhouse gas, is actually taken into the oceans where it combines with water to form calcium carbonate deposits. So calcium carbonate deposits is a reversible process which can again form calcium and carbonate ions. So when the carbon dioxide levels is lowered by aquatic organisms, say plants performing photosynthesis, the carbon dioxide being lower in the oceans is what actually causes the tip imbalance, causing carbon dioxide sedimentation in the oceans. But what is now happening is species loss is happening in the oceans. For example, plants are being lost. So carbon dioxide levels are rising in the oceans, and instead of sedimentation, the reverse process is happening and actually increasing the amount of carbon dioxide available in the atmosphere, which is actually leading to climate change. So one other potential impact of deep sea mining. Now I'll be talking about dark oxygen. So recently it was found out that a predominant majority of the amount of oxygen available for marine organisms is actually in the form of dark oxygen. Earlier it was believed that plants at the bottom of the ocean couldn't perform photosynthesis as efficiently because of a lack of sunlight. So the amount of, and concomitantly the amount of oxygen released during the process of photosynthesis would be lower. So organisms on the seafloor are actually adapted to thrive in the absence of oxygen. While this is partially true, photosynthesis at the bottom of the ocean is not the only source of oxygen. You also have something called dark oxygen, which is actually produced through a water hydrolysis process. So these metal ores present at the bottom of the oceans actually have positive electrochemical gradients, which is capable of converting, causing the fission of water into carbon dioxide and oxygen. And oxygen here is actually what is majorly used by the organisms present at the bottom of the ocean. So extraction of these metal ores through the process of mining could not only directly impact these organisms, but also reduce the amount of oxygen available in the ocean as a whole, thereby affecting aquatic ecosystems far away from the source of mining. So this was a particular study that was conducted recently. It basically plots oxygen versus the amount incubation time for various metallic ores in lab conditions that serve to simulate the conditions at the bottom of the ocean, and basically analyze the amount of oxygen produced per unit time. Over to Tani again.
So now I'm going to talk about the possible regulation to control the deep sea mining. Okay. So there are two, there are proposed regulation and possible regulation. So in proposed regulation, mainly we have to focus on the improvement of existing administration efficiency and invest in metal recycling. Metal recycling is important, or we can say improving of the metal recycling loop is important, because in our day-to-day life, we are using metal cans like cold drink, whatever it is. So instead of just dumping those metal cans, we can again recycle it and use it. So we don't have to go for this deep sea mining, which is eventually impacting on the environment ecosystem. So this is the reason why we should collaborate with other organizations like international, whatever it is. So we should, follow this metal recycling loop again and again instead of deep sea mining. Deep sea mining, eventually it will destroy the ecosystem. And instead of doing that, every day we are throwing lots of metal particles, whatever it is. So we can just recycle it. So no need to like go for a deep sea mining. Next.
Hello. So, as discussed by my friends about the effects and possible regulations that can be taken out, so you might have heard about the G20 meeting that was recently conducted, and one of the most important and prioritized topic of the G20 meet was to set up some regulations to control the deep sea mining. Recently, the United Nations representative called out publicly saying that deep sea mining is inevitable. You know how extent money can change a person, and we can see that it has changed him too. And also, while talking about this deep sea mining, where are these? I'll give an example of a zone. It's known as Clarion-Clipperton Zone, which is present between Mexico and Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean. So, you know that every country has its own borders. They want to make borders. So, what about these oceans? So, these oceans comes under International Seabed Authority. And specifically, the United Nations have named these seabeds as a common place for entire humankind. So it's not the property of America or Russia. It's the property of me, you, and everyone, and of future generations. So it is the responsibility of us to take care of that particular seabed from destruction. So moving on, this behind. Okay, so in the same slide, you can look at the various regulations. So one of the regulations is that, so when we talked about the dark oxygen, right? So it was actually discovered by Andrew Sweetman as back as 2013. But you know, like you might have heard about the story of a person who invented a machine which can run on water and later sabotaged and everything, right? Whenever people do something good for the environment, big like multinational companies, like the metals is a main important player in deep sea mining. It is the one who is going to revolutionize the deep sea mining. So he had to face a lot of obstacles, and recently you might have seen last 2 months his popularity is on the peak because some countries have started considering his research work as a viable material to set up the regulations. Some of the regulations are like for example, take the example of France. France has completely banned deep sea mining on its seabed and sea territories, whereas some of the other countries such as Mexico as well as New Zealand have set up moratorium, means they will wait, because you know that the vaccination drive for COVID, right, it happened so quick. So we still face the side effects, but here they want to wait because the concept of dark oxygen and the deep sea beds as a source of not only some important minerals but the entire oxygen for this ecosystem should enlighten a thought in your mind, because you're not only killing the ecosystem, you will be eventually killing the entire humankind and life present on the planet. So they're thinking about setting up regulations such as like environment impact assessments. For example, instead of going on to full, because you know that humans are greedy, and as in the near future, people do say that we will be needing lots and lots of minerals. I will come back to that in the next slide. So even if they want to do that, they should do it under particular strict regulations. You know what happened to biodiversity in India, right? So all these things could happen in the global stage. So they have to set up particular regulations, such as setting up trial mining process to check whether it actually affects the organisms or the deep seabed organisms, especially the hydrothermal vents. And as my friend Tanay pointed out, metal recycling. And like all these things I will come back to in the next slide. Can you please? Yeah. So is it really inevitable? Can't we live without deep sea mining? Turns out we can actually. So starting with the things, like you know that COVID vaccination drive was a huge success, and they were able to do it within few months, right? So before testing the viability of the vaccine, they needed a blood of a particular horseshoe crab. It's a deep sea ocean, and we were able to save ourselves from COVID thanks to that organism whose blood was used to check the viability of the vaccine. And we already have the experience at what happens if we mess with the carbon sinks. So the entire global warming, all these things are due to us messing with carbon sinks, and this is one of the greatest and largest carbon sink present in the planet. And people say about future, like hydrogen fuels and all those things, Tesla. So I have seen some articles saying that if you want to make electricity driven vehicles, you have to have this deep sea mining. But they haven't done their research properly. So the future is lithium ion phosphate batteries, not cobalt nickel batteries. So the maximum amount of the wealth and minerals present in the deep sea beds are potato shaped nodules filled with like cobalt and zinc. It's not lithium. Lithium will get in Ladakh. So okay, so we already know the impacts of the land mining, right? Land mining has completely destroyed the ecosystems, and so instead, like you heard about e-waste. So how much of the e-waste are actually recycled? Like even if you consider topmost countries like USA, France, and Germany, it's not up to mark. They just dump it anywhere else. So instead of looking for new resources and instead of looking to create new problems with the ecosystems, so we should look on recycling the e-waste to recycle the material. For example, and also one of the important pointed out by my friend Rohit was like the rich getting richer and poor getting poorer. Even if the mining starts, the entire authority and the profit from the mining will be like in the hands of 4 to 5 countries. You know the name of those countries. I wouldn't be saying that. And I really doubt that India will, even though India has a large deposit, and eventually it will be taken up by some other multinational company without getting a profit. So the poor will still get poorer. So and one more regulation that I propose is that even if you eventually, even if we protest and we put forward our ideas to preserve the nature, eventually it's the multinational companies that take over, right? So it's our plea that even if you go on to process this deep sea mining, at least use a part of the funding to develop the poor countries and to restore. I know restoring is, as my friend said, restoring is nearly impossible because the deep sea, like the deep sea nodules that are there, right? Those were the tooths of sharks that roamed the earth during the period of dinosaurs. So it's not really renewable as in any sense. So moving on to the next, like the conclusion. So the conclusion is that, like as my friend already pointed about the dark oxygen, the important thing about dark oxygen was, unless just before this was published in an article, every country had a full-fledged agenda to support the deep sea mining. Recently, Norway itself gave a green flag to start the deep sea mining, but the fishermen and all the people are protesting on the ocean. But the Andrew Sweetman, with his single paper, changed the prosperity of the entire world. So all the nations like Mexico and New Zealand, which were pro for the deep sea mining, they have now shifted to moratorium status. And France, being the legend, as completely prohibiting the deep sea mining. So in the near future, if you want to sustain life, we know that human greed has no end. So now they'll start digging up the deep sea oceans, and in the near future they will also dig up the Himalayas. So they'll dig up anything and everything for the minerals. So it's not about finding new resources. We have enough. Just recycle it and reuse it. The same thing happened with the plastic, as you know. So our final plea is take into account those ecosystems. There is no higher organism and lower organisms in biology. There are some of the weird organisms which are much more better and complex than us human beings. The thing is, we can think, and if they could have they had the ability to think, they would have made us the lab rats, and they would have developed something new. So our plea is to take into account all these impacts and make way for a better future. Thank you.
Yeah, nice talk and quite a controversial one. So I think your last statement was that they will dig up the Himalaya also. Yeah. So you talked about lithium. So do you think lithium is necessary?
The current, for example, as we are driving towards a green fuel, future, the current thing that we have in our hand is lithium. There are also sodium-derived batteries, but they are still under work in some of the institutions. They are not present as commercial things. For example, in the case of Madras power plant in Kalpaka, there were entire facility working on sodium-based cells, but they haven't still achieved it. So the only viable option for us now is lithium-powered batteries, which can replace a coal-based.
Okay, good. I'm not going into deep, but can we pick up the lithium with hand? We need something.
Yeah, we use.
What we use? We will use geophysical tools. Yeah. Those geophysical tools will eventually be made up of metals.
Yeah.
And in that case, if you go backward, you need cobalt, nickel, and I think you didn't mention about the manganese. Manganese nodules are also there in the dip. So they are all interrelated. So it's not inevitable, but we need those. If you want to sustain a green energy, that doesn't mean you nullify the use of petrol.
Yeah, definitely.
You will need petrol to run. So I think your statement that cobalt and nickel So cobalt and nickel is also necessary for that mining. Okay, lithium. And there is some government is doing, I think IREL is here. And recently I heard a story about the IREL, that they are taking lands from the people and they are doing some mining works because they are working on heavy mineral. But after they have done their work, what they are doing, they are planting trees, cashews and something, and then they look after those areas for 3 and 4 years and then hand over to the person whom they take over. So countries like us, now we need this kind of mineral exploration. So thinking about not doing them is not possible for us. If bigger like countries like USA, Russia, they can think about the nature, environment now, but what we have to do to sustain our economic, we should have to do this kind of minings, and also we have to think about the environment, how to restore it or like that. And there is a statement I think from him that in crust there is not much such minerals and they are concentrated in the ocean.
What I said was the crust has a finite amount of resources.
Okay.
A lot.
But why these deep thermal vents have so much mineral resources?
Thermal vents are the ones which connect the surface to the inner region, right?
But also chemical reactions acting in the magma actively push up iron, cobalt and nickel, are concentrated there to the surface. Because deep sea hydrothermal vents are the sites.
Okay.
So the passages through which they
But why not in the crust?
maybe the temperature is, temperature may be because there is a differential temperature go from core to crust, and
Okay. Crust and ocean, the rock types are similar or not? Means the land, continent and the ocean. Is the rock types?
the granite.
They are granite and they have the basalt. So your crust is bit thicker than the ocean. Okay. And okay, my question is also controversial. Should we mine or not?
I think that's the thing. The entire thing was not against mining. The topic itself was setting up regulations to maintain mining. So the thing, we all know that eventually in the near future we do need. Let's take an example of Japan. Last 2 years back, they found a huge deposit of very rare metal, rarer than cobalt and nickel, which is americium and other things on the seabeds. But still, they haven't started mining it because it's not they who decide; it's America which decides who will start mining. So when, even though we have the equipment and all those things, and as a developing country, is also first come first serve. If we occupy that land, then we eventually will get the, or else. What the other people can do, they can encroach our land and say that we are the first ones to start mining and this will belong to us. So, final conclusion is that, even if it's inevitable, so maintain some regulations. Don't go on full-fledged mining as they do in the case of land mining. Right? They don't care about ecosystems. They didn't care about, but now they do because of United Nations and other things. But we know what happened even in the Golconda mines, what British took over mines.
Okay, nice. Okay, nice talk.
Nice presentation. I don't know much about the deep sea mining or land mining or something because I am totally background of environmental science. So you have mentioned that it also affects the coastal ecosystems. What kind of the coastal ecosystems we get here in Odisha coast? What kind of a coastal ecosystem do you know?
Beach ecosystems.
Beach ecosystems. What are the names of that ecosystems? Ecotonal region you have said.
I know the classification.
Don't know the classification, like mangroves, tidal marshes. How deep sea mining affects them? You have said deep sea mining is also altering the coastal ecosystem. How?
The thing is, I talked about it in two ways. One is the silt deposition itself can probably be impacted by deep sea mining. The other thing is many of the aquatic organisms living in the ocean may indirectly be affected by deep sea mining, and many of those species actually become the prey of organisms living on the surface. Say, for example, birds eat crabs or something. And the beach ecosystems are a transitional zone between land and water. So the water, if it is being completely affected by deep sea mining, either through, like he said, through the sand water plumes or overheating causing poisoning and all of that. So the brunt of that will be felt on land as well. So
In the shallow water as well?
yes.
Okay. You should read. Nice presentation.
Okay, and mic niche. Okay, I would really appreciate you. You speak so well. It's very inspiring. I think you can motivate people. You can work on that. It's really interesting. Okay, I just have some questions. Can you name any marine animals that depends on polymetallic sulfides?
For example, I don't know if I can explain.
No, it's fine. It's only names.
There is a fish which has which lives near the hydrothermal bed, which has a layer of protection, like armor made of cobalt. So that can be an example of an organism, because until and unless dark oxygen was discovered, there was an enigma in biology. Like oxygen is so low. So all of the species, most of the species are oxygen. So how can they survive? People had so many vague ideas, such as they are depend on different gas other than oxygen, carbon dioxide. But this made us understand that it still depends on oxygen, but from a different source that we did not know until now.
And just for example, I am using so much of metals, and I have so much in my home and in my society. How can I recycle?
That's because most of the cobalt and nickel, apart from industries, you heard about mobile phones, e-waste. E-waste management, the concept of e-waste management itself, I don't think it's as good in developing countries, as propagated in developing countries compared to Germany. For example, what do we do? Even if we have a broken computer, what do? We just throw it in the dustbin. So I have seen recently, I heard about OMG India, right? So he was talking about an entrepreneur in Pune, who had set up a small plant to recycle the elements, small but valuable elements from electronics. But the people need to understand that it's also profitable. So there are a lot of things that you can get from the so. That's the main thing. The government has to take some initiative to set up e-waste management committees, as well as the government-based e-waste systems where they collect and coordinate the disposal of e-waste and take them there and strip them of those plastic things and recycle those metals. So if they can do that, it can also boost the economy. So instead of funding government-based liquor shop, they can start building government-based e-mining companies.
Okay, and there is not much EIA done in the oceanic or any marine ecosystems.
Yeah.
But we have EIA for the terrestrial ecosystems, right?
Yeah.
How much do you think that is actually followed? How much do you think that is actually followed?
No, I can give an example of my own state. My chief minister was arrested before 2 months because of the violation of. So take an example of Ballari. So Ballari is one of the region you might be knowing that it's near the border of Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. There is a huge iron ore deposit. So people have mined their extensive, the government gives you a permit to mine for certain period, certain area. What people do, they don't care, KGF, as if they create boundaries, go on mining. So he was arrested when he was in power because he had a role in not following the rules by the the Meteorological Society or the Geological Society of India, which had given the set of rules that did not follow. They went for extensive mining, which did lead to lot of problems. Have you heard about there is a desert in Rajasthan, right? There is slowly a desert forming on Karnataka, on the northern part of Karnataka. So all these things happen if you don't follow.
Okay, and just one last statement. I am blindly believing on you because I am also having environmental background, so I don't know much about it. So we are stopping, just for example, we are stopping deep sea mining, but we still need minerals, right? So now Ladakh and the Himalayas are the only option. So do you think that deep sea mining should be stopped and we come to Ladakh for the mineral excavations and all? Then how to stop that and also maintain the
Ladakh is a very sensitive zone. You cannot mine there. You will be destroying the entire region. So the problem with current due to globalization is even if you have resources, they increase the demand so as to increase the price. So keeping in hindsight, and also one more important thing about India is the major deep sea mining zone, as I mentioned, was Clarion Clipperton zone, which is present in Hawaii and Mexico. India does have a zone, that's it. They haven't explored it yet, and they don't know what are the mineral resources present there. So unless and until you find what is present there, India has to still and even though India has deposits, right, India still is a major exporter rather than importer. I mean, talk about silicons, the Gopalpur beach, yeah, we're still exporters. So the problem is with handling the resources, not with all these things. We are very poor in handling the resources, recycling, handling, rather than coming up with new ideas. Great. Thank you.
Nice.
Well, that was a thought-provoking presentation. So moving on to our last team, the Guardians of the Globe. The team members include Dev, Debasmita and Deepak. And the question that they were given was?
As ocean acidification continues to worsen due to increased carbon dioxide levels, what specific marine organisms are most at risk, and how might these changes disrupt entire marine ecosystem, particularly in terms of trophic cascades?
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible, right? Good evening, everyone. I'm audible, right? Or okay. So good evening, everyone. Myself, Debasmita Priyadarshini Naik, and we are Team Guardians of the Globe. So we are going to represent. We are going to give presentation about ocean acidification and its impact on marine ecosystem. So. We have these contents in our slides. We have these contents. Introduction, what is ocean acidification, impacts of ocean acidification, effects, their impact on marine life, and trophic cascade mitigation and their conclusion. So, introduction. Oceans cover nearly 70% of our Earth's surface. Burning of fossil fuels and using vehicles, more and more vehicles we are using nowadays. Humans are doing mostly deforestations, and industrialization has increased the carbon dioxide amount in our environment. So a massive amount of carbon dioxide is absorbed by the sea or by our oceans, which is impacting our life, which is affecting our lives. So it is altering the water chemistry, causing oceans to become more acidic, affecting our life cycles of marine organisms, particularly for the lower end of food chain. The oceans absorb approximately 25% or 1/4 of the carbon dioxide emitted by these processes. So it leads to acidification of oceans. The ocean's pH has decreased by 0.1 units since the Industrial Revolution, and is projected to decrease from 0.3 to 0.5 units till the end of 21st century. So what is ocean acidification? Ocean acidification refers to a term that the pH of oceans are declining due to carbon dioxide absorption. So the reduction in the pH of the ocean over extended period of time is caused primarily by carbon dioxides emitted by all these causes like burning fossil fuels, or excessively using these vehicles, or deforestation, industrialization and all, etc. So when carbon dioxide is absorbed by the seawater, a series of chemical reactions occur, resulting in the increased concentration of hydrogen ions. The increase in this causes the seawater to become more acidic and causes carbonate ions to be relatively less abundant. The results in difficulties for organisms such as coral, mollusks and some plankton to build and maintain their structural integrity. By carbon dioxide is absorbed, and this includes reactions like carbon dioxide. Next slide, na? Oh, role of carbon dioxide. Next one, chemical reaction. This one is the chemistry of ocean acidification, where the reaction is occurring. So, atmospheric carbon dioxide is dissolved in water, and it produces carbonic acid, which further develops what bicarbonate ions and hydrogen ions, due to which our ocean water becomes more acidic. So, role of carbon dioxide in ocean acidification. About 30% of the carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere from human activities that we discussed previously also. So, carbon dioxide can dissolve in water and then reacts with water to form carbonic acid. Since the acid dissociates into carbonate ions and hydrogen ions and eventually forms H3O plus ions, hydronium ions, it follows that an increase in carbon dioxide will cause a decrease in pH because the solution is getting more acidic. So, impacts of ocean acidification. Slowed growth of mainly it causes impact for marine life, as well as it impacts other life as well. It decreases the growth of coral shells or shellfishes and other sea algae or planktons. Their function decreases. It decreases the reproduction of marine organisms. From recent researches, we can say that marine fishes are also getting affected by this. They are impaired by their sensory organs, so that they cannot get their and it leads to loss of marine biodiversity, loss of organisms that can be enjoyed for their inherent beauty, but may also have provided novel chemical for use in medicine and manufacturing. It also leads to loss of food resources for large populations and people. Also in developing countries, loss of source of income in worldwide communities. Ocean acidification, this is the current state, and this can be the state after till the end of the century. The strong acoustic cue, which is produced by these marine organisms, that helps their settling their larva to avoid the prey and get their food. So this is happening now, but till the end of the century, the acoustic cue will be weaker, so that these animals cannot survive well. Ocean acidification and chemical signaling. Here in 2013, the pH is 8.1, and till the end of the century, it might reduce from 0.3 to 0.5 units to 7.7. It will be more acidic. Here, the absorption of carbon dioxide leads to an increase in ocean acidity. Acidity is tied to hydrogen ion concentration. A decrease of 1 pH unit means the acidity is 10 times higher. Then in that figure, we are saying that nearly in a day 22 million tons of carbon dioxide is released. So if this much amount of carbon dioxide is released into our environment, so this is also harmful for our environment, our ecosystem, and for marine life. So that's why our marine life is getting endangered. Effects on marine ecosystem. Increasing acidity combined with other environmental stresses like increasing ocean temperature and pollution has the potential to affect many biological processes like building shells, maintaining metabolism, boosting photosynthesis, obtaining essential minerals and nutrients. So calcifying organisms with shells or skeletons made from calcium carbonate are among the most abundant form of marine life. Ocean acidification decreases the availability of carbonate ions dissolving theropod shells. it decreases their ability to form the shells. Marine organisms at risk. These are the organisms that have high risk for due to this ocean acidification. These are calcifying organisms and non-calcifying organisms. Calcifying organisms like corals, coral reef or shellfish or planktons. Due to coral skeletons are made of calcium carbonate, which dissolves in more acidic waters, and shellfishes like clams, oysters and mussels struggle to form shells, impacting their survival. And plankton, foraminifera and coccolithophores, which form the base of many food chain, are also vulnerable. Then others at risk species, pteropods, tiny sea snails that are key food sources for fish like salmon. Fish that ocean acidification affects sensory abilities and behavior, disrupting predator-prey relationship. Now I'm going to say about trophic cascade, which is a phenomenon that can affect a whole ecosystem. Where the loss or decline of one species affects the entire food web, often beginning with a predator or primary producer. So it has many examples, but we have some common examples. Coral reef. Coral death leads to habitat loss for many fish species, reducing biodiversity and destabilizing ecosystems. Example 2 for pteropods, their decline affects species like salmon, which depends on them as a primary food source, leading to reduction in predator population, seals, birds, etc. And it is the best recognizable example. It's about a tritrophic cascade from South Alaska, where sea otters and it is with sea otter, invertebrate herbivore and microalgae. In near about 20th century, the sea otters were hunted near to extinction. In areas lagging sea otter population, the suppressed urchin population, indirectly affecting kelp abundance. Conversely, absent sea otters lead to high urchin populations and low kelp coverage. This suggests whole ecosystem recovery with predator populations reinstating. Mitigations. These are some of the ways by which we can mitigate these problems. By reducing carbon emissions, we can use renewable sources, solar energy and everything. Then this is the most effective and long-term solution to combat ocean acidification. Then marine protected areas. We can establish zones which are human activities are restricted to these ecosystems. We can do more research and monitor continued research to understand acidification's impact and develop mitigation strategies. We can develop different policies, international policies, to mitigate these situations and all. Next. Conclusion. Ocean acidification is a pressing issue with significant implications for marine life and ecosystems. Immediate action is necessary to mitigate these impacts both by reducing carbon emissions and protecting vulnerable species. We need global cooperation to reduce carbon emissions and to protect ocean ecosystems for further future generations.
Okay, nice presentation. Be confident a bit. So you guys are in second year, na? Okay. According to your level, it's a great presentation. Just put some references, and you have given some images and some data. So put references, and you can put a last slide on reference. Okay, I just have one question. So you are saying that carbon dioxide is the bad guy here, who is doing all the evil things. So we are emitting carbon dioxide day in, day out. So in the atmosphere, how much percentage of carbon dioxide is there? 0.03 or 0.0. Okay. So we are emitting so much of carbon dioxide. So now the carbon dioxide amount in the atmosphere should have increased, or it's same, or what happened? Sure. So we have a 100%, 70-80%. Okay, tell me the major composition of atmospheric gases. Others. So if you increase carbon dioxide amount, then what gas would have decreased according to that level? So now your percentage is disrupted. Oxygen. Sure. Okay. Read about those things. Okay. Next. You are telling that carbon dioxide is being dissolved in the ocean water. That's what causing the ocean acidification. So I think you told about mitigation, and one measure is to reduce the carbon dioxide emission, and we will use some renewable energy or whatever things. So these are what we can do from now on. But already there is ocean acidification. Already some damage has done. So how can we reverse that damage? How? Okay, ocean is not a bucket of water that you will put something and alkalinity will happen. So see, if ocean acidification is happening in the west coast of India, so it's a long coast. You still can do this kind of artificial thing that you will increase the alkalinity. It's like next to impossible for now on. Okay, and another things, the Oasis have chosen 3 topics that are correlated, and I appreciate that thing. The previous talk, someone have talked about that there is some dissolution of carbon dioxide with calcium, and that precipitate limestone or something, and photosynthesis. So photosynthesis, algae growth, those are the things. I think he talked about these things. That's a good point that can reduce the ocean acidification a bit, but it's again correlated. According to that talk, we are doing mining and we are destroying the ecosystem, and that's the issue. Okay, nice talk. I appreciate your work.
Yeah, I don't need. Nice presentation. Nice confidence. I'll ask only simple question. Does Gopalpur beach we can find some ocean acidification or not? On the Gopalpur beach, if we can we find some ocean acidification or something like that? Because you tell that the industries and these kind of things emitting the carbon dioxide, and they are the responsible for the ocean acidification. Like these beaches get some are what are the measures of reducing like carbon emission? Can you give some measures that you can?
Some measures that we can apply by ourselves on our daily basis are reducing the carbon, the things that release too much carbon, right? Like
Some 1 or 2 measures.
And using appliances that are less carbon emitting ones,
Like
and then reducing the use of vehicles that are dependent on petroleum, and maintaining the vehicles that we have and all the other appliances that we have in proper condition, so that they don't release too much
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I have just some questions if these are very basic. So, when there is ocean acidification, what are the chemistry of the ocean water that is altered? Any parameter? One.
Increase in the hydrogen ion. That's
And is the pH after ocean acidification same or? So these are the two. Okay. And if you're talking about coral structural integrity, so how ocean acidification affects the coral's structural integrity?
The cells of corals are made of carbon. Then this breaks down the carbonate cells into carbon and carbonate ions. And the carbonate ions react with the hydrogen and bicarbonate ions.
Okay, I got it. And can you name any species that is dependent on the coral ecosystem? Any
Oysters, sea urchins,
are sea urchins really dependent on coral ecosystems? I think sea urchins are mostly dependent on the kelp ecosystem, that picture you have shown. Are there any marine protected areas in India? This is the first. Any marine mangroves or any coastal wetlands?
Coastal
or anything,
wetlands or something.
or coral reefs or anything in India that is protected?
Can you consider Chilica?
Sundarbans, Vittarvanika, anything? Does this fall under coastal ecosystems?
It's
Are they
protected.
India? That's your answer. And also Gulf of Mannar and Lakshadweep. They
These
are
all
also
are
having
protected
coral
areas.
reefs. So
All the
those
coastal
are protected.
ecosystems which are protected.
Okay,
Nice.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation. Thanks.
So we thank all the participants, both offline and online, for making the event successful. And we also thank the SEC members and the Invenio team, our faculty advisors, Dr. Bodhi and Dr. Jose, and our jury members, Abhijit sir, Partha sir, and Arunima ma'am, and all the team members of Oasis and the audience of the session. Thank you.
Now we'll be having some refreshments, so please be seated. And along with the refreshments, we'll also be having an informal discussion. So if anybody in the audience have any questions, you're free to ask.